Welcome to the Accelerate Campfire. I'm Lyndon Bowen, and today I'm joined by an amazing entrepreneur. I truly hope you enjoy hearing their experiences and life path. Listen in. Without further ado, Markia Beckwith founded her nonprofit Natural Born Champions when she was just 18, starting a summer camp which still thrives today. A decade later, it's grown into a marketplace for all educational and professional development and enrichment services for any city youth, educators, communities, and schools in the greater Baltimore area. NBC's mission is to keep kids out of the school to prison pipeline and to promote pathways full of college and career opportunities. Currently, Markia is working to renovate a multi-purpose community center into a new NBC hub. So, guys, without further ado, please give a warm welcome to Markia here today.
Thank you for having me.
I'm super interested, like, in your journey to starting this nonprofit organization. Like, what kind of like got you interested in working with at risk youth?
Well, I was one of the kids that kind of pretty much beat statistics, especially growing
Mm,
up in Baltimore City. I definitely grew up in like a broken home, full of domestic violence. But my parents were always there for me. But then I
yeah.
also had like peers that pretty much grew up in the same neighborhood whose home was even worse than mine. So I can only imagine what they were going through. So we were all dealing with some type of trauma. But again, I made the choice to just be like more of a leader in my peer group and really help people and fix issues that I seen like from my day-to-day life. So just like growing up and just helping my friends and also like being a mentor to even parents at the age of like 11 years old. Like parents would come to me for advice and I'm like, I'm a kid, but
Wow. Wow.
I was a good listener. Like I'm just a great listener and just listening to what you're saying and what you need and then really just being that reflection.
Yeah.
So that pretty much like propelled the idea that I don't know what I'm going to do with my life or where my career is going to be, but I want to be in the field where I'm helping someone.
And did you always know that that path would, be entrepreneurship for you? Like, who are some of your early influences that maybe pushed you down that path or made you think, oh, I want to start this organization, help out kids? Like, what did that look like?
Yeah, for sure. So at the age of 5, this is a real true story. I used to take my dad's like jewelry. He like grew up in the 80s era with like the big
Hmm.
chains and the Kango hats. I used to take like all his jewelry and, some good stuff and try to resell it to the community because I'm like, I need money. So I knew if I wanted to sell a box of candy, I needed money to make money. So I would
Yeah.
take like stuff my dad wasn't worried about anymore and resell it. So just having that entrepreneur spirit has always been in me. And like my family picked up on it at an early age, and then so did my friends. So, I was just always like in a hustle mode. Anyway, like I knew I could get ahead or just get something out of what I wanted was completely in my control because I just had to network, meet the right people, and then also just, stay creative in ways to reach those goals.
Yeah. So what did it look like breaking into the youth space in Baltimore? Like, were there a lot of doors closed in front of you when you were trying to help inner city youth? Like, what did that look like in terms of starting up Natural Born Champions?
I've always been a person with like tunnel vision.
Mm,
My problem is I don't necessarily like reach out for help immediately until I need it. So I like to try things first and then like if I fail or, if I can't find a way around it, then I seek help. So I want to say like a lot of doors weren't closed nor open to me because I wasn't looking for it. I've always just
mm,
looked at like my crowd, my audience. I knew that, there was a lot of kids in my neighborhood that just needed something to do during the summer. So like instead of getting in trouble, I'd say like, hey, like let's go clean up the community. Let's go run some games at the basketball court and, make a couple dollars. Like just trying to channel them or their energy more productively. So once I had I got their attention, I'm like, I'm gonna start a summer camp. And so I've had my summer camp since I was 18. And basically every summer we're not only focusing on like the academics or what you're supposed to learn in school, like your literacy skills, your math skills, but also just using a lot of cross curriculum, such as like culinary arts, theater, science, things like
mm.
that. To get them interested in actually learning and then composing that into an entrepreneur because when you think of an entrepreneur, they have to wear many hats. And
Yeah.
so we have to be like a jack of all trades essentially to reach our goals. And so that's what I did from like I said, 18, I just was helping kids just gaze out their interests first. Um, Paying attention on how they learn and not what they're learning, but just how they learn best. And then using their interests to actually deliver what's going to help them get to the next level.
Mm. And in terms of like operations, like did you do this all alone? Like did you build a team to help you? So you have aftercare, you have before care, you're serving a various a subset of needs. So what did that team look like around you to help you fulfill this mission?
So after summer camp, I pretty much kept my mentors that were helping me throughout the summer, and I set them down. I said, "Well, hey, I know we're pretty much flexible because some of them were still in school, so they had classes like during the day, but they were free before and after school time."
Mhm.
And so we've been with each other for like 10, 12 years, and so it makes us sad that we can't be around our kids all school year. And so once we thought of like let's do before and after care programming, it pretty much was just like everybody was on the same page. Like I'm down, like wherever we have to be, we'll do it. And so it just helps because like we're connected to the colleges. So if we need like that human capital, we're always connected to some people that are willing to help. And also just like being a part of like work study programs, it helps us with funding. So like I said, just utilizing your network and just making sure everyone is on the same page. It's like a family niche almost. Like whoever I
Mhm.
employ, I want them to understand like, hey, we're in this for a long run because trying to change a community is changing generations at a time. And so
Right.
it's going to be, it's going to be a journey. It's not just going to be let's make one initiative and then we're done. Like we have to keep revamping, keep revising, keep, creating new initiatives to propel our communities.
Yeah, I think that's like super interesting approach, right? And it's so vital, like in a community in particular. We have Sydney drop in the second question, and I will have the audience vote on that. I'm just gonna ask you a quick follow up question to that. Like, I feel like after school care is super important. Like personally for me, like it was all of the after school programs that I went to, right? That helped me to learn to code, to become an engineer. Like, are you looking to expand to like STEM fields, or I know you mentioned the arts. Is it STEAM involved? What does the growth look like? Basically, is what I'm kind of getting at for NBC.
So for NBC to serve as a hub, we have to expand to our people. So to get more resources, we have to expand our reach and our human resources. And so what we do is we partner with people who are like STEM targeted
Mhm.
or focused,
Right.
engineers, people who are in architect. Like we partner with different schools who provide those resources as well. So when you think of a hub, you just think of a place you can go to, obtain whatever you need. So when you shop on Amazon, you can literally type out, I need jump ropes, and then you have 1,000 vendors under that. So when you
Right.
think of NPC, I want to have like, oh, I want to try archery, I want to do bowling, I want to do fashion design, and we'll connect a vendor to provide those services,
Mm,
if that makes sense.
no, that definitely makes sense. I feel like it's an interesting way to go about it, right? Like you're becoming the connector to those services for the kids in a many ways.
Absolutely.
Um, as an entrepreneur, what was your biggest fear going into starting NBC and growing it? Yeah.
Biggest fear, honestly, just I don't really fear much because I have a lot of faith.
Mhm.
I believe in God. Some
Mhm.
people may believe in the universe, but I believe that something is it's always going to work out. So no
Mhm.
matter what I'm working towards, whatever program, whatever business I'm pushing forward, it's going to work out. It may not work out next week, it may not work out next year, but it's going to work out because these aren't my plans. I believe
Yeah.
like helping people has helped me find my purpose. And so
Mhm.
if I'm connecting other people, I pretty much I fear that I don't fear that God wouldn't put me in a place where I'm connecting always, like, because that's what
Right.
I'm building. I'm building a hub full of connections, full of networks. And so, my only fear is that I'm going to burn out.
Mhm.
But that's the
Yeah.
only thing is that's why I pull on people because I'm only one person.
Right.
So having a team definitely, helps me, just relax a little bit. Like you don't have to
Right.
do it all. Together we can do a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
And in terms of like, um, I mean that's interesting, right? Like it's super important. You have to lean on the team. You have to lean on the community. And when those moments got hard for you, was there a story like, from your volunteering, you're helping the youth, that kind of helped you keep going when the going got rough?
Yeah, so real story. It's funny, it just happened last year. And this is how I came across a mentor. I live in Baltimore City, so it's like full of crime. And I live in like a more civilized area. But there's a lot of like vandalism and theft, like,
Mhm.
small misdemeanors.
Yeah.
And someone took the tires off my car. And so um the van that we had was used to pick up kids and drop them off to and from school.
Yeah.
So when we came outside, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like how are we gonna do transportation today without tires?" And so I'm just like, I'm over it. I'm frustrated. I have to call parents, let them know, like, hey, this is the only means of transportation we have, and we don't have wheels.
Hmm.
Um, and so I'm just like frustrated. I'm like over honestly, the transportation service provide. Like, I'm just over it because for one, like, the car was just in the shop, we had to pay, like, 1,500 to get it out, and then 2 weeks later, someone takes our tires. So it's like, "Dang, we
Wow.
can't even make money, and we're just, like, putting all this money out there." And so and so, my mentor at right now, he was walking down the street randomly with his dog, and he takes a picture of the decal on the van. He calls us and he say like, "Hey, my network." He's a part of a Black professional men network, just full
Hmm.
of wealth. He said we have a mechanic, and he wants to donate not only tires but a vehicle to your organization, and we know
Wow.
nothing about each other.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and I'm just like, "Oh my gosh, like, this is huge because not only do we get tires, but we'll have another vehicle to pick up more clientele." So, like, just that moment of me just, like, wanting to give up and just, like, just
Yeah.
get over it, like, I just wanna, I just relaxed, like, I stepped away from it for a little bit. I called some people, and I was just, like, just putting things out there of what I need, like,
Hmm.
the stuff I needed. And then like I said, by the grace of God, it was just, hey, like I have this and I'm willing to give it away freely.
Right.
Um, and that's what I've been meeting. Like people that have stuff that you need more, they'll just give it away freely because it's like we have this in abundance. So it's just
Mhm.
like building your network. And my mentor has definitely helped me get to that point where I can always just rely on my network. I don't have to get easily frustrated when things just, falls
Right.
through.
Just
Yeah,
reach out with a question, and the help is there, right?
absolutely.
And in terms of like ingesting like donations, and dealing with the finances of your organization, what does that look like for NBC?
So a lot of our programs are fee-based.
Mhm.
So we charge families a small fee just to have kids participate in the programs. That just helps us with like overhead costs and things like that. We do rely on some grant funding just because we're a nonprofit, so it's kind of
Mhm.
hard to make like a
Right.
significant break even point.
Right.
Um, and then we also just rely on our network, so family, friends who just donate, and stay connected to the school systems.
Mhm.
They also are very generous in donations, even though they need donations sometimes. But
Right.
um, it's just like the circle of life. Like if we
Yeah.
provide good quality programming for you guys, in return, kids are going to want to come back to your school. You're going to grow your school, and so they get money off of the children. And so it's like if we're actually helping them grow and not just pushing them along a pipeline, it'll just make the programming that much impactful and your school presence, your school culture that much impactful on the youth lives. So like I said, just relying on your network.
Right. Right. I
Yeah.
mean, I think that's it's really it's a spot that needs a lot more attention in our society, right? Like, so it's very admirable that that is what you've decided to do, spend your energy, your leadership, on impacting youth. Um, if other entrepreneurs were interested in like founding nonprofits similar to yours, like what were some of the hurdles you had to go through in terms of like getting your nonprofit status, or being able to handle children in Baltimore? Like, what do some of the certifications and hoops look like for you?
Whew. So, if you're interested in starting a nonprofit entity, my best suggestion is to start now. The certification itself takes about 6 months to process. So, you're going to be waiting. from now until 6 months just to get your 501c3. And then after that, that's when you become eligible to go after like grants. And grants are like year round, and some of them are accepted on a rolling basis. There is some limitations with being a nonprofit. Um, you can't so much, I want to say, take on federal contracts just
Right.
because they look for more than just like a balance sheet. They
Mhm.
look for the profit. And also when you're going for like VC or just some type of capital funding or business loans, there's also like some limitation because you're a nonprofit. Um,
Mm.
yeah. So just the process of getting certified or noticed as a nonprofit, that's pretty tedious. The application took me about a week to complete just
Yeah.
because they ask for a lot and it's an IRS form. And then the second one would just be going after the grants. And what I've noticed with going after grants, not all grants are for you. So for
Mm.
instance, if you know like you're youth based, like myself, I wouldn't necessarily go after like a grant that's awarding medical organizations or
Yeah.
politics or political, like just throwing it out there because a lot of people will waste time on those applications and those applications could take you a minute to complete. And so you don't want to waste too much time on something that you're probably not going to get. Even though the price looks nice, the grant application is so specific on who they fund. So you always want to go after the ones who go after your mission or who has a similar mission or values or as something as your organization. Um so yeah, a nonprofit it isn't as bad. You are supposed to make a profit because you're supposed to stay afloat. So another limitation is just really staying creative on ways your
Mm.
business can stay afloat. So me, like I didn't want to limit myself in just before and after care.
Right.
Because there's only a certain amount of people that need before and after care, ones that could actually afford it. So not so much in the inner city part. So that's why I contract schools so they can take care of the funding for the program.
Mm.
And
I
then in
see.
return, the kids can experience an enrichment. But if you go into like a more privilege or where the tax bracket changes, they're able to pay for before and after care, and they're willing to pay you what you're actually worth. So it's just like learning your demographics is also a limitation. And then, like I said, outside of that, if I offer summer camp, if I offer transportation, now people are more attracted to an organization that serves more than one, I guess, products. So you wanted to go to that one-stop shop person rather than going every different place just to, for one, I'm taking care of kids. So you don't want to ship off your kid in multiple places. It's just nice
Right. Right. Right.
getting everything they need from one resource.
Yeah.
So like I said, just staying creative. Because if I wasn't creative, like I said, I would put myself in a box where not that many people could afford my services. So it would ultimately hinder the business.
And in terms of, I mean, I think you mentioned something really interesting, which is like the fulfilling of contracts or more of the nonprofit side. We talk a lot about contracts on the for-profit side here. I'm interested to know, like, what does the process look like for solidifying a contract for services on the nonprofit side from community organizations or schools, like you mentioned?
Okay. So when you think of contracts for a nonprofit, they're usually all non-contractual. So it's more
Okay.
as like pay as you need. So you think of like the YMCA, you go inside the YMCA, you pay for a membership, or you just, pay as a walk-in, and it's usually like $10 to $15. You still get their service, but you're not under a contract and you're not obligated
Mm.
to pay that $10 or membership fee unless you're utilizing the facility. And so that's pretty much how I set up my programs. It's more as like a pay as you need. Um,
Mm.
we
Okay.
don't like to put people under the contracts because then they're obligated to pay. We're obligated to make a profit off of our service. And that's
Exactly.
how nonprofits work.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
If you had one do-over with NBC, what would it be?
One do-over, I would say waiting to start it because what what I'm doing right now is going to take some time to build. Rome wasn't built overnight, so I don't expect my empire to just, flourish and blossom overnight. But I went to school, I took some time off, and I had a double degree. I went for psychology and biology, and I'm not really using those degrees in the field of work,
Yeah,
So it's like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I would have took advantage of my 4 years more wisely, but I was pushed and pressured, from my parents, from
Yeah.
mentors and coaches, like, "Yeah, go to college because that's the thing to do." College is really more of like a self-fulfillment. Like, I did it just because,
Mm,
I feel more powerful. I feel more knowledgeable, so it's not really helping me in the field of work. Like, people don't even ask me if I went to college. They're asking
right,
me what.
right. That's not their first thing. That's
Yeah.
not first question. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think
Like,
that
can
would
you be
be
trusted with my kids? Is the question that people be asking.
right. Exactly.
Yeah. As a leader, as a servant leader, how has your mission evolved over the years? You started the organization when you were 18. So, is it the same mission? Is it a different mission? How has it evolved?
It definitely has evolved by implementing more sectors or just
Mm,
trying to draw in more of awareness from different persons of power, like politics, getting our mayor involved, getting the police department involved, and really trying to draw in a community
mm,
based or community intervention based program for our kids.
mhm,
Because we're just citizens, we're just residents of Baltimore City. It's not so much we can do, but like I said, if you network the right way, you have people who are in position and have power to get you where you need to be. So the mission has definitely evolved because we include more people, we include more opinions, we include more resources, and we're trying to reach a different level than just summer camp. We've never seen our program grow out. I mean, outside of summer camp, we had summer camp for 10 years. And then 2 years ago, we decided to go, well, after COVID, we decided to go year round. So
mm.
I'm like, we need more help because if we're trying to do this for 12 months,
Right. It's
we
a different. Yeah, it's a different business. Yeah.
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then thinking about just our fees for the programs. Not everyone is going to be able to pay $100, $150 every week for programming. So it's
Mhm,
going to look different for a school year. We want to keep our clientele. Well, we have to make it a little more affordable. So our
mm,
mission has definitely evolved as like the programs change, our ideas change, and things like that. But it's pretty much mainstream. We want to keep kids off the school to prison. I mean, the prison pipeline and onto the
mhm.
graduation line. So that's where we stay consistent.
Yeah. Yeah. And in terms of like succession or growing the organization, do you always see yourself in the same role, or how do you think the organization will look in 10 years?
In 10 years, I see a lot of my mentors taking on more responsibilities in propelling NBC further on just a state level.
Hmm.
I mean, a local level, more so on a state level. And because I'm only one person and my ideas aren't as good as the upcoming generation because they
Mm,
was popping, quote unquote. And
yeah.
so, like I said, I use a lot of cross curriculum and I like to gaze out their interests. And so the only way I can stay hip and interesting is really pulling on the younger generation. So I see them taking over and really propelling NBC on more of a state and national level for me. And a lot of my mentors actually, they started as campers. So I had them since they've been 10,
Mm,
11, 12, and now they're 16,
wow.
18 as mentors. So it's just a beautiful
Wow.
thing to watch them evolve as professionals and really grow into a champion of life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, how many kids, if you could give a rough number, do you think you have impacted with your work?
We're about to hit that 700 mark, maybe 700 connected
Wow.
youth. And then with our new partnerships with Baltimore City Public Schools, we
Hmm.
pulled in 5 schools this upcoming fall. So we're looking to contract at least 200 more students from each of those schools. So we're gonna push over maybe 1,000 to 1,500 um
Wow.
participants. Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy because it's exponential, right? That's a life
Yeah.
that you're impacting that's going to impact 100 more lives. So that's
Mhm.
amazing work. Markia, for sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
Um, the last question, well, I think the second to last question that I have for you here, as a leader, as a citizen, as an individual, what is the biggest change that you've noticed in yourself throughout this journey?
Um, Learning how to say no.
Mm,
Because when you're in the field of giving, people know who to come to when they know who to come to. And so my thing is I'll overly give sometimes without allowing someone to actually fall. And so I'm ultimately enabling them to actually do stuff on their own. And so it kind of goes against what we stand for. We want people to be accountable. We want them to have integrity. We want them to have some type of responsibility to really um be self-sufficient, be more autonomous, do things for yourself, and also look at what you're leaving behind for other people to pick up. And
mm,
so my thing is, it's like if I'm always giving, it's like, okay, these people aren't really learning much on how to get it without me or get it without the resource. And so I have to learn, and I'm learning how to say no, even if it's little
mm.
things, just learning how to budget,
Yeah,
learning
yeah.
that I can't, go out to eat this weekend because I need this $200 to get t-shirts for the program. It's just discipline, a lot of self-discipline as an entrepreneur.
Okay.
And it's a journey because even if you make more money, you still have to learn how to say no, because not everything is worth an investment.
Right. I mean, I think that's like a through line that you've touched on in a number of ways during our conversation, right? Like you mentioned the balance between trying to keep from burning out. You mentioned including people in your journey in order to, make multiple copies of yourself in many ways, right? Like,
Yeah.
um, what did you personally have to give up in this journey to start this organization and to grow it, to impact thousands of students as you are, going to and have already? What did you have to give up as an individual?
As an individual, I had to give up some friends.
Mm,
Um, I had to give up some commitments as far as like being in church on Sundays, like every Sunday. It's not that I wanted to, it was just, it's a sacrifice
mhm.
almost. And like I said, learning how to say no. So
Yeah,
not going on every vacation, not
yeah.
hanging out every weekend, and really just being okay with my business, because at the
Mm,
end of the day, this is what feeds me. I don't
mm,
have, I don't have an opportunity to just go out and work a 9 to 5 and then I get a paycheck. My paycheck is waking up on my own, working, busting your tail to get whatever you need to get, and
right.
then you can eat. But yeah, just making a lot of sacrifices just for the business is something I personally have to give up on a day-to-day basis, and it's not gonna ever end because I choose to be an entrepreneur.
Oh, oh. Well, Marky, I want to thank you. I feel like I've learned so much from you. I need to cut out some things in my life after this conversation. For sure. But I mean, I want to again thank you for your leadership, for your dedication to the future. And I think the work that you're doing is super important. We have a couple entrepreneurs here in the room, and lots of other supporters of entrepreneurs here today that I'm pretty sure have been very resolute and resolved in the advice that you've had to give to them. So, Marky, I want to thank you so much again for taking the time out. And hey, keep impacting those kids and and saving the generation we need you. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And to all the entrepreneurs, I just have one piece of advice is just keep moving forward. Things are going to work out. Just keep believing in yourselves, keep believing in your brand, keep pushing it. And yeah, never look back. Just keep going.
If you'd like to join the Accelerate Collective and attend future campfires, visit accelerateamerica.com/join and check out our future guest at accelerateamerica.com/campfire. Take care.